Hi there, and welcome to my second Instagram live story. Today I'm going to be analyzing the first episode, second season of the Orville. I'm going to go scene by scene talking about it. Obviously, this is for Orville fans, anyone else who wants to listen to. Alright, let me just get my equipment going. First, I'm going to start with an item opening. It's, what do you think this is? It's the first season of the Orville on disc. I ordered this when it, right before, on pre-order. So, let me open this right now for you. See what we got here. Sorry, I'm leaning in close there. Alright. This is exciting stuff. Let's see. I don't have anyone on yet. But here we go. Got to make sure, since it's my second, I'm still learning. Got to keep things in. Oh, I forgot to start recording. For anyone who just joined me on my podcast, today I'll be reviewing the Orville second season, first episode, scene by scene. I'll do the first half hour or so this time around. And I've just started with an item opening, a box, well, more like a whatever opening of the Orville first season on DVD. Just cut it open. Got it delivered by Amazon. Let's see what we got here. Ah, nice. Standard DVD. Looks good. New season coming soon on Fox. I guess I will open this up now. It's kind of difficult to open. I'm not very good at this stuff. I try to be gentle, not rough. So I'm leaning in too close to the camera. Alright. This thing is being difficult. I'm going to have to edit this on the video that I'm doing at the same time. Okay, why is this? Finally, I got it. At least a portion of it. Wow. I am looking pretty incompetent right now. Here we go. It's your standard plastic on the item. I will be using this to analyze the first season of the Orville. This thing is pretty sticky. Does not want to come off. Get rid of that later. Okay, I think this is ready to open. Let's see what we got here. First look. Oh, nice. This is kind of loose. Cosmos. Award-winning Cosmos. I think Seth MacFarlane worked on this. I'm pretty sure he did, which is probably why they're advertising it here. Let's see. Oh, it's just a one-pager thing. Let's put that back. Oh, they have a special little holder for this. Just one little ad. That's interesting. Alright. That's being difficult too. So, we got one disc, two discs. I won't take it out. You know what discs look like on the back. 3 discs, 4 discs. Pretty nice art. There you go. I wonder if it has extras. It has the complete first season special features. Q&A with cast and creative team from Pallyfest 2018. Inside look. Directed by First 6 Missions, Designing the Future, Orville Takes Flight, Science of the Orville, Quantum Drive and Alien Life, Crafting Aliens, and a Better Tomorrow. And there's a number if I have questions. What kind of questions? I have lots of questions about the Orville, but I don't think that's what this is for. Alright, so if anyone wants to buy this, not from me, I mean from Amazon, it's pretty good looking, and 4 nice CDs, DVDs. Alright, so that's the box opening. Fun. Alright, let's get on to the Orville. And for this, just so I'm not playing the sound and possibly violating some kind of copyright by playing music, I'm going to be wearing these for a time. Actually, I'm going to let you hear the first few notes of the first episode because I think it's pretty cool. It has a good feel. So, you see the Orville coming in. A very nice ship. I love how they designed this. Oops. I did not take out my... Let me try that again. There you go. I think that's pretty cool. I like the musical feel of the series is cool, and they're continuing that with this second season. Little piano piece, I think, sets the tone for the rest of the episode about romance and broken hearts and that sort of thing. So, let's continue on as the Orville flies through space. Interesting, they had an empty background. I would have thought they might have put a little bit more there, but I'm not sure what their artistic designer, their production designer was thinking there. It looked good. So the scene opens, they sweep into a kind of a functional looking place with splashes of color. The liquor is, you have oranges, blues, reds. Has a very Star Trek The Next Generation feel, which I think is what they were going for. And we sweep into the captain, talking about the little phonograph he has. And again, like Star Trek The Next Generation and Star Treks in general, they always sort of harken back to, even though they're centuries ahead, it seems like the culture they always reach back to, of course, is ours, the viewers. So, because we connect with that. That's how they bridge the gap between the centuries. Every now and then you see, future. I keep referencing Star Trek, but come on, everyone knows this is sort of a. I don't want to say a copy. It's a look at a similar universe as Star Trek. And my guess is there's always a possibility with multiple universes, Star Trek and the Orville could always cross paths in some way. I'm sure people are talking about it, speculating, whatnot, but that's for the big corporate owners, the corporate bosses to decide if they want to do. So we have the bar scene with Ed sitting, drinking, being sad for himself, being served by an alien bartender, which is pretty cool. I've noticed that the prosthetics that they use, I like the design, the colors, the shapes, but the alien heads don't quite ever move. Their muscle movements are stiff. They're more like masks than actual latex against the skin. That's okay with me. I'm curious if it's a budget thing or if they just kind of like it that way. They're trying to. Of course, you have everyone one way. You don't want some moving well and some looking stiff. I guess you have it all pretty. You have it the same across the board for all the aliens, so that makes sense. So that's not jarring. So maybe that's the reason. It's easier to just have everyone one way. So then there's Ed talking to the bartender. Kind of standard 21st century bar talk. A low jab at Ed. The jokes are pretty good. It's a funny show. And very human. It's, despite the sci-fi and sitcom part, there's just good old-fashioned characters that you just like to listen to and observe. Alara shows up. I'm going to pause for a second. It's kind of interesting that I've read people talking about her like, oh, she can't act, whatever, that she might be leaving the show. I don't know. I don't even, it's rumors, but I think she's a believable character. She represents someone who's young, new at a job, maybe younger than she should be for the job, which happens in real life. So, and she has doubts and insecurities, but tries to be positive and show a secure a secure persona to everyone. Let's see. So I like her as a character. She's believable. So yeah, I like when she shows up and starts talking. Oh, you might have caught a bit of dialogue there. And the bartender is funny, and in his response to her. The colors of the uniforms are pretty cool. Very strong red and sort of aqua, blue aqua. Now Lara's prosthetics, since it's not a whole mask, she looks natural because it's easy to put on and isn't really over most of her face. So, yeah, people in the background doing normal bar recreation kind of activities. It feels like a living ship. The trees, the trees in the back, sort of the tree shrub things, are pretty cool. They add a nice element to the recreation room. Bortus showed up. I like how he's sort of the stiff sort of. He's sort of a mixture between Spock and Worf. He's kind of logical and blunt, but he has also that toughness of the Klingons. So he's a really interesting character. He serves that, I guess, that purpose of that role that those two served in the different Star Trek shows. Of course, he has to change course. He wants to go to his home planet. So it's the captain references the baby thing. It's interesting that early in this season too, we have a Bortus Mockless storyline starting up. I wonder if that's a thing they planned on, that Bortus's world is or his life and society is something people want to explore. Because they didn't do that with Isaac. They just reference the planet he's from. The other characters, the human characters, they're from Earth, so we're more interested in the characters, but we know what Earth is like, so we don't need to learn more about it. So maybe it's natural that they open up each season with Bortus and Mockless, the planet Mockless, or the system, talking about it. An alien world people are interested in learning more about. So he has to change course. And so he talks about urinating once per year, and his special ceremony, his year ceremony. Again, I think this is I'll let the credits run. I love the opening. You might hear the music in the background. So what was I saying about what was I saying? I was talking about oh yeah, so the urination thing, some people might treat it as a sort of bathroom humor. They accuse Seth MacFarlane in the show there's too much like juvenile bathroom humor, that sort of thing. And on the surface, it seems like I'll just add with the title sequence, I was trying to see if there was anything new from last season. I'll have to look closely. It looks the same, but I wonder if they added a something special to differentiate from season 1, just for fans who were looking for that sort of thing. So, where was I? So the urination thing, on the surface it seems just kind of like a silly little, funny, haha, we're going to make fun of Bortus and this and that and amuse young fans. But thinking about it, all these science fiction shows and movies, they look at, what if we come across something strange and unusual we don't understand from another culture? How do we deal with it? How do we accept it? This sort of thing. So that's all cool. But, I don't think I've seen something where, maybe there are comedy sitcoms. I don't know, Red Dwarf maybe did it or something. I wonder if Hitchhikers has done it. But basically, what if you come across something that just grosses you out? You find funny and gross, and how do you approach that? So this simple bathroom humor joke actually opens the way to further discussion about how you deal with alien cultures who just do things weird. I think a lot of the humor in the Orville actually does that. Some of them are just jokes between people to establish characters and banter and that sort of thing. But I think a lot of the humor also actually deals with cultures and technology. Like, really, what changes might they cause? And not like the scary changes, but more like the cute or unusual or awkward changes they might cause. So that I like that part of the Orville. So as far as this urination ceremony that Bortus has to do is funny, but it also makes you stop and think, like in our culture, what are you have to look at our social rules that we don't like to cross, and what if there was a culture that, we come across an alien species in the future that, just urinates and defecates wherever it wants, and you're just, are you going to be grossed out? If that's their way, what do you do? I think even in our world, some people, they keep when a baby is born, they keep the placenta, and I think maybe some cultures, they eat it, and, other people, maybe here in the U.S. or whatever would say, oh my goodness, that's disgusting, how could anyone do that? And, in fact, it might even be a joke to some people, and to me I'm not comparing that with a urination ceremony, but the point being that, what if people do stuff that's natural for them and part of their culture that just grosses you out and you don't know how to deal with it? So, the question is, as the episode goes on, they're going to be sort of joking about it and trying to accept it and trying to be cool about it. There's going to be humor involved, but it's also humor maybe is better than fighting or arguing or getting into some weird situation that's more tense. So yeah, I think that's pretty fascinating. So I'm going to continue on. All right. So, Geologia is the name of the episode. And the, why is this not? Oh, I will turn down the sound. So now they are in their conference room. The humor with the Geologia ceremony. Oh, why is there it's interesting, they have like a little plant in the back that looks like a bed of multicolored lettuce. So that's interesting. Conference room, again, is cool. Sleek, functional. I like the colors, a lot of blues. So it's a mixture of blues. They have a lot of blues in the hallway lighting and the exterior windows, and then the green of the plants that they spread around are pretty bright green. They add a lot of color, and then the uniforms, very bright blue and red and that sort of thing. So it's the color palette in this show is pretty cool. And actually, what I was saying about the prosthetics, Bortus is a little bit stiff, but I guess since they cover less of his face, it can show more facial movements. So I'll have to look more closely at his makeup and prosthetics and see what I think about that. All right, continuing on. Oh, they have a cool picture of some spaceship. What spaceship is that in the background? So, the great release. So everyone's listening attentively while he describes a very formal urination. Interesting that it's a New Year episode, and he talks about a new cleansing. Boris ignores the little joke from why am I forgetting the character's name? The Navigator. Dang it. Obviously I know the character, I love him, but his name escapes me at the moment. Alright. And so, of course, they I love the writing because, well, it's the sign of good writing that all these different storylines cross over each other and intersect and complement each other. You know, you have the ceremony, but boards this planet is on the way of some other mission they're running, so that all dovetails nicely. That's coincidence, but you know, it's for dramatic purposes. But that works. They're picking up a dark matter expert. So you wonder, as soon as you hear that, how is this person going to affect the storyline? How is this person going to come in, or alien, or whatever? How are they going to come in and change what is going on? The crux of the story seems to be this Gelogia, but it did start with sort of the bar loneliness of the captain, and the insecurities of Alara, and the insecurity of the captain. So I'm still unclear at this point. I've seen the whole episode, so I know what happens. But at this point, having seen it when the first time I saw it, it's the question is, where is this going? It's interesting. Everyone's interesting, but where is the episode going? And we have this dark matter expert coming on board. So how many different twists are there going to be? Is she going to affect the ceremony, or affect the romance things going on? And then there's the thing about everyone having to bring a date to this Gelogia. So there's another third storyline. There's the ceremony, the dark matter expert, the dates. So yeah, so we have 3 interesting storylines going on at this point. And then the captain makes a bad, unfortunate joke. It's so a few jokes back and forth that ends the meeting, and it's pretty cool how they do it. Amusing, serious, real. It feels realistic to a sense how people behave. Another cool shot with the ship in empty space. Always love that. I just noticed that you have some stars are static and some are shooting by. I'm curious if there's a scientific basis for that, or if it's just kind of a cool art thing they decided to do. You don't want to hit one of those. Seems like it'd be dangerous. So again, we have a lot of blues coming in from the exterior. So Kelly comes in to talk to Ed about something she needs to talk about, and obviously he makes the guy mistake of thinking she wants to get back together, and of course she doesn't. He's playing the romantic, nostalgic guy, and she's the more serious and logical, rational person. And the romantic tension here is a good addition to the story. It adds an interesting element to the show, an important one. I think it's necessary. So just wanted to make sure there's not too much sound. I'm trying to hide it with my headphones. So they have an argument about, he has some cool books in the back. for a computerized society, he has a nice old-fashioned little library. Oh, and he has, oh, awesome. I just caught a little egg, Easter egg. So, when they first announced the name of the show, I was a little unsure about that, the Orville. It seemed like an odd name. But then I realized it's Orville and Wilbur Wright, their arguments if they were the first people to fly a plane. There's some aficionados who will argue that there was, I forget, someone else maybe had the first flight, but it's pretty much accepted that it was them. Alright, I'm only going to go to 15 minutes at a time. I don't think I can do a full half hour, so I'm halfway. So anyway, in this Easter egg, so I realized, and then Isaac, is it Isaac Newton or Isaac Asimov, that character? Yeah. So, anyway, on his desk, on the captain's desk, is a little replica of what I believe is that first plane that Orville and Wilbur Wright flew. So I think that's a little Easter egg. I don't know. I don't recall on the show if they discussed during the series that the Orville is named, in the show is named after the Orville and Wilbur Wright, and maybe that that wooden model of the plane, or whatever material it is, looks wooden, is an official ship thing, or if it's just something that the captain has, a personal item that he has because of that connection. So that's curious. I'm curious if we're going to find that out in the future. So Kelly actually brings up a really interesting hypothetical about their relationship, and actually addresses issues of fraternization in military groups. Can a senior officer make a good decision when they have to send their friend or someone they care about deeply into danger? So they actually have a good back and forth about what's right. And they both actually, that's another thing the show does, is it often takes two sides of an interesting argument. She brings up a good point about love, like circumstances matter. Ed takes the nostalgic view that love is love and transcends that. So they both have an interesting point, and they don't come to conclusion. So there's a model of the Orville behind him, and the wooden one, and Kermit the Frog. So I like his office. So they come out of their warp drive, or I forget what they call it in the show. So they have a pretty cool, I like how they dock with ships. They go back into it. It seems pretty realistic. I like that. They have a good amount of what I think is, scientific realism, engineering realism, that sort of thing. I like the little force shield that they go through when they dock. Presumably keeps in the atmosphere and pressure and all that stuff. So the dark matter expert is, Sona, who is attractive. Obviously, she's going to create some kind of something. Actually, I don't know if she's gonna get involved in the relationship storylines, but she seems like someone who is cool with the captain. He seems pretty neutral about her, and then she comes on the bridge, and so she sits down next to Gordon Malloy. Why did I forget his name? But he gets all silly about he's obviously smitten with her, and you see, okay, so she's getting into that storyline, into the relationship one. The commander is in the background doing standard work stuff. She almost looks like she's on a cell phone. Maybe she's checking her text messages. But she's there, but not in the scene. And Gordon is acting foolish, as usual. Funny, foolish, interesting, very charismatic. But very insecure with himself, which is funny. He pretends like he's not hitting on her, but he is. And then you have people working around. You know, it's interesting that there's no door into the command section, no sliding door or anything. It's just kind of an open hallway, which is nice. It creates more space. And then they segue to more piano music. I don't know the name of the piece, but is with Isaac and the doctor's kids again, which is cool. I like that whole sort of angle where you have a single mom trying to raise kids on a ship. So, and the two kids are pretty good actors. Their clothes are cool, kind of futuristic looking. Again, strong colors. The design of the shirt has some orange earth tones to it with the blue. So the Isaac Doctor thing is pretty cool. Oh, Marcus is wearing a blue and green. Interesting mix of colors. Future looking. So is the kid James. Though they're acting like young kids being troublesome. That's an interesting interchange. So sort of a modern day family dynamics, family tensions. So it's pretty interesting. Even though it's not sci-fi, it's the future. They're dealing with the same kind of issues, and why not? Unless things totally change in our society and we're all robotic or lack emotion or whatever. But that might make for a very different show. So she has more of a purple look in her apartment. It's interesting. And then Isaac starts the humor of him saying that the teenager's problems are from some kind of virus or disease. That's kind of a funny exchange. So then they go back to the jazz music. A kiss is just a kiss, which is, again, such a nice tune. And I like that they keep going back to that in this episode. Alright, I guess I'll be doing a third of the show. What's that, about 16 minutes? So just a little bit longer and I'll wrap up. I'll make it in thirds. How's that sound? Alright, so we got another scene of the Orville flying through space. And we have the kids, dark blue, in some quarters that aren't being used. They're hijacking a matter creator device. These teenagers acting like regular teenagers, so that's good for the teenage audience. And they have push buttons for their so that scene of the kids pushing buttons to create something, that's interesting. It's not voice controlled or anything else. It's still tactile. So that's just an interesting little, I guess that just makes it easier to show action happening instead of people just sitting around saying command and stuff happens. So I think that's, in the future, probably just things will react to verbal. verbal instructions and whatnot. So, and they create a bottle of vodka, which is interesting that the bartender at the beginning said, I need to order shipment of liquor. I wonder why he can't create it. And maybe there are certain things the matter creation device can't create. Some things that are still special that need to be obtained some other way, which makes sense. I mean, it makes sense that the thing that can create items can't create anything anytime. That would be just, that wouldn't make sense, and would also make it way too powerful for the show. It could ruin a lot of storylines or limit them. Anyway, so the kids get their liquor and run off. So you have yet another storyline here. So you have the Gelogia, you have the dates for this Gelogia, you have the romance. Actually, it's sort of gone down into a couple storylines. You have all these romances trying to develop or whatever. And then so from this scene we shift into Gordon in the bar having a meal, and he's talking about he's talking to Laura about this new scientist that has come on board, and he wants secret information, probably a violation of the rules for Laura to tell him stuff from her files, but I guess he's digging anyway. All right. So yeah. So Bortus joins them. He has an interesting little meal. Looks kind of tasty. Space meals look good. The cartographer, that's what she does. Just her, Alara, Gordon denying it, and then Alara silently mouthing he does to Bortus is pretty funny. It's so quick, the scene, but it's just so amusing. The poor guy is so nervous and doesn't know what to do. I think many of us have been there before, so that's why it makes it appealing to watch him struggle with this. And Bortus is just kind of interesting, has an interesting look as Gordon sputters out his problems. They throw in a little joke about Gelogia. She suggests that John helps him out. And so we shift to the scene with John, and that is where I'm going to stop and start another time. So far, a third of the way in, we have a lot of interesting conflicts to be resolved. Keeps you hooked as far as what's going to happen, who's going to get what dates. If they even get dates, maybe they're not going on dates. So yeah, actually that seems to be the big conflict now. So as usual, the Orville has a very interesting storyline that doesn't involve violence or people having to die or anything, but it's already addressing different kind of culture, how people still have to deal with each other and their children and their peers and their ex-loves and their new loves. Even in a world of new technology, you still have to deal with advanced technology. You still have to deal with the same old problems that have always existed. Again, maybe everything will change in the future and these problems will no longer exist, but it's science fiction. You look at the society you have and layer over new technology on top of that, and see how it affects you. Any science fiction that has totally new sense of reality, I think, is less popular among fans. There are certainly a lot of science fiction fans that like that sort of thing, but it's a smaller audience. It's much more intellectual, much more speculative. But hey, that works too. But for a large audience, you want them to be able to connect with sort of a society they understand, more or less. I think the further you pull away from what people know, at least as far as human dynamics, the fewer viewers you're going to have. So it just depends on, well, as a creator, you create what you want to create, but you have to acknowledge that the interest will be different depending on the subject matter that you explore. Alright, so that is my second Instagram Live, and that's all we'll do for now.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to visit chrisalvarez.com or theartofsciencefiction.com for more great interviews, photos, and articles. Your visits help support this podcast. Please remember that my first name, Chris, does not have an H in it. One of the best ways to provide feedback for this podcast is to rate me on iTunes. Please give me a good rating if you liked it, or feel free to give me a bad rating if you didn't. I'll use that feedback to make this a better podcast. You can also follow me on Instagram under Chris Alvarez Sci-Fi, on Facebook under Chris Alvarez WLC, on YouTube under Chris Alvarez WLC, and on Twitter under Chris Alvarez WLC. Thanks for listening, and keep imagining the future.